Impeachment Article 4 Unconstitutionally usurping Congress's powers, prepared by Free Speech for People. Article 4. Unconstitutionally usurping Congress's powers in his conduct of the office of President of the United States, Donald John Trump, in violation of his constitutional oath faithfully to execute the office of President of the United States and, to the best of his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and in violation of his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, has engaged in a corrupt course of conduct that demonstrates his unfitness to serve as President of the United States, in that Donald John Trump, using the powers of his high office, engaged personally and through his close subordinates and agents in a course of conduct or plan designed to undermine and usurp the authority and powers vested in Congress by Article 1 of the United States Constitution. The means used to implement this course of conduct or plan included the following, carried out in coordination with or via his close subordinates. 1. He created a position of authority in and over federal agencies that qualifies the officeholder as an officer of the United States and installed Elon Musk in that position, in violation of the Advice and Consent Clause of the United States Constitution, Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2. The Constitution provides Congress alone with the power to establish public ministers and consuls, and all other officers of the United States, which shall be established by law. Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2. A president may nominate a person to any such position only by and with the advice and consent of the Senate. Trump usurped both powers by creating a new position in his cabinet and installing Elon Musk in that position. The extensive powers that have been afforded to Musk in that position belie any claim by Trump that Musk is not an officer of the United States. The United States Supreme Court has long recognized that any appointee exercising significant authority pursuant to the laws of the United States is an officer of the United States, and must, therefore, be appointed in the manner prescribed by Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2. Buckley v. Valeo, 424 United States 1, 126, 1976. The harms that result from the usurpation of Congress's power are extensive, undermining not just a single branch but the democracy itself. The structural interests protected by the Appointments Clause are not those of any one branch of government but of the entire republic.
Freitag v.
CIR 501 United States 868, 880, 1991. 2. He has usurped the power of Congress and defied Congress and the judiciary by blocking the distribution of trillions of dollars in funds that have been appropriated by Congress under Congress's exclusive constitutional authority, United States Constable Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1 and Article 1, Section 9, Clause 7, and has refused to disburse these appropriated funds even when ordered to do so by federal courts. Congress is broadly authorized and required by the Constitution to provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. United States Constant Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1, and the President has long been prohibited from refusing to spend funds appropriated by Congress. By blocking funds committed by Congress to meet these purposes, Trump has violated the Constitution, usurped congressional power, and undermined the well-being of the United States and the American people. 3. He has usurped the power of Congress by imposing tariffs of up to 25% on Canada and Mexico, 10% tariffs on nearly all imported goods, additional tariffs of up to 50% on nearly 90 countries, and tariffs and retaliatory tariffs of up to 145% on goods from China. National Council of Nonprofits vs. Office of Management and Budget, Memorandum. AP Case Number 25 CV 239, DDC February 25, 2025, noting that White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt publicly announced that the federal funding freeze remained in effect even after the court issued an administrative stay to prohibit defendants from implementing the freeze on pertinent funds. New York v. Trump, Order. Case number 25 CV 39, DRA February 20, 2025, granting plaintiffs' motion for enforcement of the temporary restraining order because defendants had not yet complied with the order. AIDS Vaccine Advocacy Coalition v. United States Department of State, Order. Case number 25 CV 400, DDC February 13, 2025, ordering disbursement of foreign assistance funds that were in place before Trump took office. Zach Montague, judge gives Trump administration deadline to release foreign aid. New York Times, February 25, 2025, detailing administration's refusal to adhere to court orders. And by engaging in schemes to pause, rescind, modify, and reimpose tariffs. The authority to impose tariffs is vested solely in Congress. See United States Constable Article 1, Section 8, which provides that Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. Though Congress may and has in certain circumstances delegated tariff authority to the President via statute, it has not done so here. Trump's abrupt and multiple tariff orders have undermined the country's economic stability, its relationship with significant trading partners, and harmed Americans' financial security. In all of this, Donald John Trump has acted in a manner contrary to his trust as president and subversive of constitutional government, to the great prejudice of the cause of law and justice and to the manifest injury of the people of the United States. Wherefore Donald John Trump, by such conduct, warrants impeachment and trial, and removal from office.
So Article 4 is also very linked to Article 5, which deals with creating an imperial president, a king. Inside of our system, we have checks and balances, right? We have the judiciary, we have the legislative, and we have the executive. The executive is the president. Legislative is Congress. So Article 5 is Trump ignoring courts, which is ignoring that branch. Article 4 is taking over powers that normally belong to Congress. This is a really important piece. And how I see, like, for example, a Bennett's actions based on this would be probably like a but-for test. Particularly the legal nightmarish hellstorm that is going to be Doge. Doge took a major, a man who makes most of his money, Elon Musk, off of government contracts. And for him, his company, and subordinates that work or are connected to his company, to being able to see the private information of competitors, information that may be private, and then like their proposals, their financial information, and that being turned over to a direct competitor, which, depending on what we know, is whether or not Elon used any of that information in his business dealings, or to gain strategic positioning in contracts, or perhaps even to remove competitors from bids, like like trying to take over the air traffic control kind of stuff. Things of that nature. That'll be number one. That'll probably be where the really big lawsuits that are going to hit Elon is about. There are other lawsuits that are out there right now that deal with class action cases, that deal with Doge, about exposing low-income people like myself, people who have mental health issues, who have other disability issues, and are having challenges, and are on Medi-Cal and Medicaid, and Social Security, other assistances like that, being able to look at their information, even though it's kind of low on since they don't have a lot of money. This is actually one of the areas where Bevin's actions take place, right? Because it is a constitutional injury to our rights. And in this area is potentially where what happens when Congress basically allows the president to get away with causing mass injuries to, like, all kinds of people. That becomes a big issue. Because I think, at least with Bevins and with 18 U.S.C. 242, which is deprivation of rights under color of law, which is a criminal penalty, placed in the hands of which gives the hands of citizens to be able to sue for damages regarding violations of our rights, and potentially even putting people in office in prison for violating rights. 18 U.S.C. 242, deprivation of rights under color of law. Normally that's been directed at line officers, because that's normally where these things take place, where the government power to take away people's freedoms and constitutional rights starts with law enforcement, because law enforcement are supposed to take your freedom from you if you commit crime. But the issue is with government, which is my bigger question when it comes to things like Impeach Trump again.org and the Citizens Impeachment Movement, to be looking differently, since we're looking at impeachment differently by a mass movement from the population, that the population should be looking at broader areas to to protect our freedoms, and seeing, like, are there civil and or criminal actions that we can take to protect ourselves in the event of a king who decides and because he is in control of his party, basically tries to get Congress to cede all their power to him, so that he can go to the courts and gets the courts to cede all power to him and therefore become a king. There is a method of stopping that. And the method of stopping that is Bevins at 18 U.S.C. 242, and yes, even, and Quarantoro, but which citizens cannot do. That is an action of your Attorney General that deals with purely the constitutionality of an office holder. So the three powers that we have to be able to protect ourselves from this should be exercised, and not just impeachment, to see what other tools we have that Americans haven't been doing, because we've never had a person who decided to discard the positions of the judiciary, which is Article 5, or the Congress, Article 4, which means he's a king. We can stop that by looking beyond just simple impeachment, but our civil rights and the legal tools used to enforce and protect our rights against government power taking our rights from us. Thank you.